Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on mitigating persistent threats using Microsoft Defender ATP and THOR. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Joe Stalker, and I am the CEO and founder of Patriot Consulting. We're a Microsoft cybersecurity partner in the United States, and we help deploy Microsoft Defender ATP, which we'll be talking about today, and other Microsoft security solutions. Joining me today is Matt Sosman from Microsoft. Matt is a security architect, and you may have heard him speak at RSA conference or seen his YouTube videos online. Matt helps partners among many other things in his role, and we're really thrilled to have him here today to give us an overview of Microsoft Defender ATP. Following Matt's presentation, I'll give an overview of some of the integrations Microsoft has. Also joining us today is Florian Roth. Florian's the CTO of Nextron Systems. He's the creator of the THOR APT scanner, which we're really excited to give a demo today in its integration with Defender ATP. Florian's also the developer of the handcrafted Yara role feed called Valhalla. He's the creator of the Sigma project and has authored numerous open source projects, including YARGen, Loki, YAR Analyzer, and many other solutions you could find on GitHub. So very excited to have Florian join us today. So the agenda for today, let's go ahead and look at this. So Matt's going to give just a quick overview of Defender ATP so you can get an understanding of the product. I'll be showing some of the integrations that it has with other Microsoft solutions. And then we'll jump right into Florian's presentation. He'll have the remainder of the presentation. And we should have some time for Q&A and wrap up. A couple housekeeping items. Feel free to use the Q&A panel in the event builder if you have any questions as we're presenting. The webinar will be recorded and you can watch it on demand using the same link that you used to register. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over here to Matt to get us started on an overview of Defender ATP.
Thanks so much, Joe, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Really appreciate you joining. So Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection is a product that we're really excited about. And this does many different things, as you can see here on the slide. We commonly refer to this as an endpoint protection platform. And it spans across these different domains, and Joe will get a little bit more into this later on, but I really want you to just kind of consider everything that this has breadth across. So being able to look at what are those common threats that are hitting your endpoints, being able to manage things like CVEs and vulnerabilities, attack surface reduction rules built right into Windows and managing that with the product, next-gen protection and endpoint detection and response. We're going to get into that later on when we go through the THOR scanner. And I'm going to talk about live response here in just a moment, but that's what we're really excited to talk to you about today. And then auto investigation and remediation is the ability to automatically investigate suspicious activity and then automatically remediate it without human intervention. And the Microsoft Threat Experts is Microsoft's managed threat hunting service. And all of this is backed up by a central dashboard with an amazing API that you can extend. And what Nextron Systems has done is taken that API and extended it out to their solution. And that's what we're really excited to show you here today. Next slide, please. From an architectural perspective, and I could probably spend all day on this, but this is a great view of how the product is laid out from an architecture perspective. And so on the far left, we have a variety of sensors across the endpoint, not just Windows 10, but also server, Windows Server, Linux, Mac OS, even iOS and Android. And being able to look at telemetry coming in from those sensors and diagnose that. And that's really where Defender ATP specializes. And as Joe mentioned, this also integrates with other Microsoft products as well. And so you can see kind of at the top there that we could also pull telemetry in from sensors coming from Azure Advanced Threat Protection, Office 365, the Microsoft Information Protection suite of products, Cloud App Security, our CASB, and there's even more that's not listed on here, such as Intune. And then Being able to also push and pull from your existing infrastructure. If you have a SIM or a source solution, being able to create your own custom Power BI reports, even pull in your own custom threat intelligence, like your own indicator of compromise and IOCs. And then kind of down in the center there below, this is where we have a lot of the computing happening, and there's many different components going on here. But something I want to just call out is that Graph API. All of this data that it's collecting and crunching on is going through our security graph, which then applies additional artificial intelligence, machine learning, and additional compute to it to do deeper analysis. And that's where it can also send data out to the other security products under the Microsoft suite here of security products to then provide automatic mitigation and actions. So just to give you a quick example, if my machine has ransomware on it and Defender ATP discovers it, it can use device-based conditional access with Azure Active Directory to then prevent that machine from accessing any kind of corporate resources. So a lot of amazing capability here under the covers. Next slide, please. We're extremely proud and flattered here that Gartner, as of last August, named us as a leader in the endpoint protection platform Magic Quadrant, and so we're pretty excited about that. And I think when the guys go into their demos here, you'll see why we're so excited about that. Next slide, please. The last thing I want to talk about before I hand it off is live response. This is a really I just think it's really cool. This allows me to open a shell connection to an endpoint to be able to do live response. I can run PowerShell scripts. I can run my own tools. I can upload files, download files. It's quite amazing. And what's even cooler about this is I can isolate that endpoint. So if I suspect that endpoint is malicious or has suspicious behavior on it, I can isolate it from the network, but I could still contact it using the Defender ATP service here and still open this shell connection, which again that's kind of a game changer. And when the guys go through their demo here, you'll see why this is so cool. So with that being said, that's a quick overview of Defender ATP. I'm going to turn over to Joe and take it from there.
Thank you so much, Matt. Patriot is a Microsoft system integrator, so we deploy the Microsoft product. And one of the things our customers want us to do is to integrate it across their other Microsoft products. So in this presentation, what I'm planning to do for you is basically walk you through how Defender ATP can integrate through these. I'm going to try to keep it to basically a minute or less. So basically a flyover of some of these integrations that Defender has. So conditional access, this is checking the posture of that device, and if it's risky, then you can actually take action to block it from accessing, say, Office 365 or your other SaaS applications. Cloud App Security, this is Microsoft's CASB, and we'll talk about some of the integrations it has with protecting SaaS applications and Shadow IT. Azure ATP, this is an agent you would deploy on your domain controllers in Active Directory, and it's looking for various kind of both behavioral and signature-based attack. It can detect past the ticket, past the hash, many backdoors into AD like skeleton key, golden ticket, various DC sync, DC shadow, and correlate that and let you know if your machines are caught up in that. So let's say you're investigating a computer in Defender ATP, it'll let you know if that same machine is being detected by Azure ATP. So we'll show you kind of where that would surface in the Defender product. Office ATP is the solution for Microsoft that's scanning for inbound email threats. So whether it's zero-day malware, it's going to do detonation, hyperlink inspection. Office ATP attachments that are found to be malicious, those SHA hashes are actually shared with Defender. So if you're investigating a machine and you see, let's say an Emotet malware attachment, this will actually let you know that it was actually Office ATP that found that to be malicious, and we'll show you where that would surface in Defender as well. Azure Information Protection is a data classification and encryption solution for Microsoft. This will label your content, and you can create labels and classifications, say for personally identifiable information. We'll show you how in Defender information that's been classified as sensitive can show up when you're investigating a machine. And that's really helpful when you're doing forensic investigations to know that you might have a machine that also contains some PII data. So then you could really focus on, did that data actually leave that machine? Was it exfiltrated? So that's very helpful. We'll show how that surfaces in the product as well. Microsoft Threat Protection Dashboard is fairly new. I believe it was announced at the RSA conference that this is available, and I believe now all the licensed versions of Microsoft licensing now allow you to see the dashboard. That's available at security.microsoft.com. And it's really designed to pull in signal from these various products so that you have one dashboard to go to. That was a big ask by customers saying, hey, I've got too many products, too many dashboards to look at. So this dashboard, it really kind of brings all those alerts into one central place. Sentinel is Microsoft's SIM solution, and it can also pull in signal from Defender. So we're just going to show you quickly how to get that connected. You'll be surprised to see how easy that is. And then what we're going to do is then transition over to Florian, who's going to show us how Defender can then be extended to third parties. So Florian will show you how the live response, which Matt spoke about, can be extended to use THOR. And we're super excited about that, and you'll see why. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how Defender ATP can work with the Microsoft Cloud App Security. And this is just an architectural slide to show you that, historically Cloud App Security would rely on firewall and proxy logs in order to build discovery dashboards. But I believe it was in 2018 or so, Microsoft was able to pull signal directly from Defender ATP to build discovery dashboards, and we'll show you an example of that in a moment. The reason why this is pretty important is because if you have people going to Dropbox or Google Drive, maybe unsanctioned cloud storage sites, and they're exfiltrating data, a lot of the times in many of the organizations I speak to, you would only have insight into that if the machine, all of its traffic was going through your firewall. Well, due to COVID, many people are now working from home, and a lot of that traffic is no longer going through the firewall. So having the ability for this discovery report to be built from traffic coming directly from the endpoint and not having to go through a firewall or proxy is pretty significant. Now, there's other third parties in the market that can do something similar, but they would have to deploy an agent on the machine. It's significant that this is just natively built into Windows 10 with no additional agent on the computer. And what it can do is not just do discovery, but in January of this year, there was the ability to do blocking that was introduced in kind of late January. So you could basically define a policy saying, I want to block Dropbox outbound connections or block, say Google Drive connections, because maybe you've only sanctioned OneDrive for Business as the authorized cloud storage platform. So that ability to not just discover, but also block was added in the product that uses the network protection module in Windows 10. Another thing that was added about a week later is the ability to block certain categories of websites. So you might want to block, let's say, gambling websites or adult websites. You can now do category-based blocking, and that's done via a subscription from Siren. So both of those block capabilities, again, natively built into Windows 10 with no additional agent. You define the policy in Cloud App Security for the Shadow IT apps that you want to block, and then the web content filter is actually defined in the Defender ATP portal. So with that, we'll go ahead and do some demo of that capability here. So we're going to go into, this is the Cloud App Security product for Microsoft. And so when you get into it and you go to discover machines, you'll actually have a high level kind of picture, a discovery dashboard of content that was found. In the top right, we know it's coming from Windows 10 because it says continuous report, Windows 10 endpoint users. And so as opposed to uploading a report from your firewall where you have to get your firewall logs, all this data is streamed directly from Windows 10. So at this point, what you could do is you could come in here and look for a particular application. And you'll notice Dropbox here, it's got this red block on it because it's been tagged as an unsanctioned application. So then there's a signal that's sent to Defender ATP to block outbound connections from Dropbox. So let's say this machine goes out to dropbox.com, and you'll see this website is now blocked from going out to Dropbox. In the actual machine, then what we would see showing up here is we would see a blocked connection going out to that site. So it says connection to a blocked application. It shows the computer, the destination IP, the domain that was blocked, the application that went there. So all of that data would actually show up as an alert. What's also interesting about that is this machine now has a particular risk level associated with it because of that alert. You can then, this is how it ties into conditional access. You can then build a conditional access policy to look at the device state. Let me actually pull that up here. So this is an Intune compliance policy that says, if the machine has no risk, so it's clear of risk, then you could actually set a policy saying block any machine that is not compliant. So this particular conditional access policy is basically checking that device risk from Defender ATP, and if it's compliant with the policy, then it's allowed through. We're excluding this compliant machine from a block policy. Okay, so you just need to decide what level of risk you want to permit. So in the case where someone browsed to that Dropbox site, that machine's at a low risk. So if I set the compliance policy saying this machine must be at or under the machine risk score, then it's still compliant. But if I wanted to just have a zero tolerance, I could actually say it's got to be clear of all risk in order for it to access whatever cloud app I want. So in that cloud app policy, I can actually define which cloud apps compliant machines are permitted to access. So that can be Office 365, or it could be any SaaS application that you've configured to do SAML SSO with Azure AD. So that's basically how device risk is integrated with Intune compliance and conditional access. The other thing that is possible with the product is you can actually create policies. And so if we create policies, let's go ahead and do a, how about do an activity policy here. And what you can do with this particular policy is you can actually isolate machines from the network. And so depending on the risk that you're actually trying to detect, if, say, for example, someone uploads malware into SharePoint, so if the malware is detected and the application is SharePoint, then we're going to integrate with Flow, which is now called Power Automate, and that's going to kick off a workbook to isolate that machine from the network. So that's another example of how Cloud App Security is protecting your cloud applications and then sending a signal to Defender to isolate that machine. Another thing that is really helpful is, as I mentioned kind of earlier, is checking for sensitive information on a computer. And so that's actually done through Azure Information Protection. So if I get into sorry, this toolbar is blocking. This Teams thing is blocking the actual web page. Let me just rearrange that. It keeps snapping. Give me one more. Okay, there we go. All right, so in this device on the left navigation, this device is tagged with a data sensitivity level. It says that a device's sensitivity label with the most sensitive file is found in the last 30 days. So basically, something from AIP found documents on this computer containing PII information. So that's the data sensitivity label. If you had 100 machines with malware, you might likely need to prioritize which ones you're going to investigate. And investigating the ones that contain PII information is really a good strategy, because you might have a certain timeline. The clock is ticking on how quickly you might have to respond and alert people if their PII data was accessed. So I just think it's very nice integration here that we can actually see sensitive information is surfaced directly at the computer level when you're investigating a machine there. And then within Azure Information Protection, there's a dashboard here where you can actually query the activity log and say, show me any computer containing that particular label. So you could write a query here, and where the device risk contains high, medium, or low device risk. So we're basically able to query, how risky machines are along with the sensitive information found on them. And so in this particular case, on this particular incident, we've got some information containing sensitive content here on this particular computer. And so at that time, the device was at a low device risk level. And if I click on this, this will actually bring me to the Defender page where I can then go a little deeper and investigate that machine. Another integration that you'll see here is Azure ATP Alert. So this is that agent on the domain controller, and it's able to let you know if this machine is actually attacking your Active Directory domain controller. So that's an example of how that can integrate with Azure ATP. Office ATP integration is actually directly integrated here. So this particular alert of this file here, if we actually look at this alert, it says a malicious file was detected based on an indication provided by Office 365. So Office 365 ATP, it's detonating attachments, and when it finds an attachment that's malicious, it's able to send that that file hash to Defender. And so if Defender sees that file, it's able to take action and block that threat and automatically investigate that. So very, very helpful. This particular file happened to be Emotet, and so it was found on that particular computer thanks to the Office ATP detonation chamber that detected that particular threat. And then the other thing we're going to show here, and I'm going to be handing it over to Florian here pretty quickly, is the Microsoft Threat Protection Dashboard. So we talked about a few of these products, right? So Azure ATP, Cloud App Security, Office ATP. So Microsoft Threat Protection provides a single unified kind of SecOps portal where that way you can develop, a hybrid timeline of events. So, a machine getting or a user account getting compromised, maybe they didn't have MFA, the attacker is searching the content of the mailbox, maybe for a password to the VPN. The attacker then connects to the VPN on premise. Azure ATP is going to detect that lateral movement. And so all of the alerts from these various components are showing up in this MTP dashboard. So here's an example of a machine, an alert with Microsoft Defender ATP, Office ATP alert, CASB alert. So all the alerts are actually funneling into this this one dashboard. And then in terms of Sentinel integration, so Sentinel has a connector for Defender ATP. So Sentinel is a SIM that can basically pull. You can see from Palo Alto, from ForcePoint, F5. CyberArk, Cisco ASA, Barracuda, all sorts of built-in connectors, Amazon, CloudTrails, and Trend, Zscaler, all these alerts. So Defender ATP, you basically just come in here, you open up the connector page, you click connect, and once it's connected, All the alerts are then going to show up in the SIM where you can then query them in a KQL hunting interface to write queries for these particular events. There's a lot of built-in ones that are looking for MITRE attack TTPs. So these kind of built-in alerts or queries that you can check for those there. And so at a high level, it's going to use machine learning to do the correlation to identify out of all these events, is there any event that needs to have any action taken on there. So with that, that's the lightning kind of overview of the Microsoft Defender integrations. There's actually some other integrations. We just didn't have enough time to show them all, but that was the quick 10 minutes. So, again, it's really my pleasure and honor to introduce Florian. I first actually became introduced to Florian, I think back in January, when I found a blog post that they wrote on how they integrate with Defender ATP. So I reached out, started testing it, got pretty excited when I saw what it can do, and while Defender ATP does have a forensics package collection feature that can retrieve information, what Thor does is it'll scan all those elements, and it uses its Yara rules to basically determine through that forensic scan if there's any evidence of APTs that were on that machine. So I'm going to hand it over to Florian here. I'm going to stop sharing, and then Florian, you're welcome to go ahead and take over.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm very glad to speak to you about our newest product, or better, a variation of our existing product, THOR, which is called THOR Cloud, and its integration into Microsoft Defender ATP. But so Joe introduced me, so thanks for that. I can skip that slide and jump right over to the what is THOR slide, because I think that many may not know THOR yet. And so I thought it's a good idea to use at least one slide to describe what THOR is. It's not that easy, but we can try. It's a portable forensic scanner with a huge signature database, Joe mentioned that, optimized for compromise assessments and the detection of hacking activity. So THOR isn't another malware scanner. It's not a second opinion antivirus. It's a scanner that has been optimized over the last, I think, 7 years to detect traces of hacking activity, hacking tools, APT-related indicators. I will talk about the signature database later when the THOR scan is running to fill up the time. So what is THOR Cloud in that relation? THOR Cloud is a lightweight way to execute THOR on endpoints, because THOR is a package that you get from us. It contains several executable signatures and licenses, documentation, everything in a single archive. But with THOR Cloud, you are able to pull all that from our cloud systems with a simple script, a simple and small script that you can run on every system that runs PowerShell. So why is it a good idea to integrate with Microsoft Defender ATP? When I first saw Microsoft Defender ATP, and especially the live response feature, I noticed that there's a huge potential for us to integrate with Defender ATP. I noticed that you can execute PowerShell scripts on endpoints, and seeing that, I was immediately aware that we can extend the capability of a more EDR-like system like Microsoft Defender ATP with our forensic scanner that we used over the years to investigate incidents all around the world. So THOR extends Microsoft Defender ATP's scope to in-depth forensic investigations. To give you a better understanding of the coverage, I first tried to map MITRE attack coverage slides, but I noticed that it would be a better idea to give you some rough examples of what Microsoft Defender ATP is optimized to see and what THOR can give you as an extension. So Microsoft Defender ATP looks at everything that happens right now in real time: process connections, live events, program executions, the command line, mutexes, events, named pipes, things like that, user activity. There are many overlaps, but the most obvious one is registry modifications. Microsoft Defender ATP sees that some malware or attacker tool modifies the registry in real time, and THOR, when it runs, processes all registry hypes on disk and analyzes each key and would also find the registry modifications. But as it is a live forensic scanner, it would also detect forensic artifacts. That's the most important part. And the forensic artifacts, things that are left over on the system, like the dump exports. When attackers dump credentials on an end system, they usually redirect the output to a local file to exfiltrate that file afterwards, or to reuse it on other systems. And THOR is able to detect these traces, these leftovers, these traces in registry or the MFT in local caches, shim cache, M cache. It is also optimized to detect web shells. We have a huge signature section just for web shells. I think it's more than 2,300 different web shell rules. Some of them more generic, some of them are highly specific. And we also detect configuration backdoors and certain anomalies. But we can also look at it from a different vantage point, a chronological view that sometimes helps people understand what's the difference to EDRs, or in this case, Microsoft Defender ATP. When we look at it, Microsoft Defender ATP is good for live detection, and THOR is as a forensic scanner for forensic analysis. It looks at past activities, the caches that I've mentioned, the artifacts, specific backdoors. So we recommend using THOR as an extension for Microsoft Defender ATP on inconclusive events to get a different viewpoint from a different scanner, or use THOR to verify an incident and uncover related activity. So other files that the attackers left on the end system, apart from the processes that you see, or the suspicious processes that you see in Microsoft Defender ATP. Or to reveal past activity that was missed by Microsoft Defender ATP. These things happen, or things that happened before the systems were onboarded. Sometimes we helped customers that integrated networks of a new company into their network. They onboarded them to Microsoft Defender ATP, but they wanted from us a verification of past events, of things that happened on these systems before, and therefore we use THOR quite successfully. So what is THOR Cloud? As I said, there are no requirements apart from being able to run PowerShell. You can do everything as you can do with the normal THOR package. So there's a configuration included in that tiny script that I'm going to show you, and you can adjust this configuration to all the parameters that the full THOR uses. And it's easy to integrate into any endpoint solution. So the idea is that users need only a small script. The script serves as a downloader, license retriever, a managed executor, and configuration helper. So you just have to run that script. It evaluates the system, pulls the right THOR executable for the right architecture from our cloud systems, generates a license for that end system, uses the integrated configuration and false positive filters, if you like, and then stores the results on the local system or sends them to your SIEM or to any remote system. We have THOR seed as a PowerShell script for Windows, and we will provide also THOR seed script for the Linux and macOS platform. The script, as I said, communicates with our THOR with our cloud web servers and pulls the packages from there. So this is an overview of the process, the things that happen when you get one of these voucher URLs from us or generate them yourself in the customer portal. We have in our backend, we have an account for a user and can generate these download links. You will see one of them in a few minutes. And when you click on the button on that page, you retrieve that THOR seed script, that tiny PowerShell script. This PowerShell script is already pre-filled with all download tokens that you need, and you can even pre-select a preferred config, a scan config, right in the download window. And then you can just upload it to Microsoft Defender ATP, to the script library integrated in Microsoft Defender ATP, and then run it on an end system in live response. It will retrieve the THOR package and license from our cloud systems, run a scan, and you can, well, in the default configuration, it will store 2 files locally, an HTML report and a log file. But you can also configure syslog export, syslog to an ARC site with Ceph, or different other output options. We have JSON, syslog format, everything. Well, yes. Okay. It's obvious that you need the PowerShell. You need a PowerShell, and you also need an internet connection. You can't use THOR on that end system if you have already isolated that end system, because it retrieves the THOR package and the license from our cloud systems. So what you are going to see in a few seconds is I will download this THOR seed script. I will upload it to a Microsoft Defender ATP script library, and then I will run it, and we will retrieve the report afterwards with a get file command. Let me switch to. So this is a page. Can you see I will make it a bit bigger. You can see this is one of these vouchers that you can generate yourself as a customer, or you get them from us as a trial user, or a user having a free voucher trial. You see the quota, and you see how many of the scans are used. If you run a scan on a single system multiple times, the quota won't be reduced. It will only be reduced when you scan new systems. Each of these on-demand licenses are valid for 3 days. You just have to accept the EULA, and then you can select between balanced scan, quick scan, full scan, or Sigma only scan. To give you a better understanding of what this means, you have here a short information about this scan configuration. A balanced scan takes between 5 and 30 minutes. I will talk about that later. A quick scan takes only 3 to 10 minutes, depending on the files on the system, processes running. Full scans can take between 40 minutes and 4 hours or 6 hours, we say here. Because a full scan is very intense. It processes the full disk, the full partition, every file on disk, and the full event log. You can also select just Sigma only scan, and you will apply all public Sigma rules from our public repository to the local event log to get something like local theme, because we apply the Sigma rules locally on the event log and generate events in that moment when the events get processed. So I will select a quick scan today, knowing that it will take 7 minutes. And I see here in my Microsoft Defender ATP dashboard, I see a system that is suspicious. It has alerts. I look at the alerts and see something happened with stick keys binary hijack. It's a medium severity. Say, let's go and start a live response session on that end system to investigate further. This is a shortcut. You would normally check other information in Microsoft Defender ATP, just jumping right into the live response for you, so that you can see how easy it is to integrate THOR. That's the integration happening right now. Okay, the script has been uploaded. Oh. I will run THOR from the script library. I could have produced a listing of the script library for you so that you can see it before running it. But in that moment, THOR starts, and you will just see that spinning command line cursor for minutes. Don't be anxious. If you should let it run to the end, because we cannot print something to the command line before the script terminates. It's one of the caveats that I'm going to talk about right now. Let me switch back to the slides. The live demo slide. Yeah, the caveats. When we started playing with the integration, we noticed that there are some things that limit our potential a bit. We made some changes to THOR, and Microsoft made some changes to the live response to give us a good feeling running a quick scan that runs 30 minutes. Before these changes, the script, the limit, there was a runtime limit of 10 minutes for scripts. Microsoft has increased it to 30 minutes so that a full quick scan can run on that end system. That was very helpful. As you've seen, there is no progress indication. You just see the spinning command line cursor. We cannot print out anything. You will see the full log, the full command line output that THOR produces at the end of the scan only. So you have to be patient, have faith that everything is going correctly in the background. And you have to notice that when you run THOR with some THOR seed with command line parameters, you have to pass them in a special way on Microsoft Defender ATP. You cannot just pass them after the script, but you have to pass them in a parameter called parameters. We would also have loved to show you the detection on Windows Server systems. We think that, or we would love to see live response also supported on at least Microsoft Windows Server 2019, because we think that it should be easy to do. If the support for Windows 10 is already there, then it should be easy to extend it to the server systems. It would be great because we see attacker activity on both platforms, on workstations and servers, and it would be just great to see this extension. So the script is still running, and Joe said, well, you could. Joe said to me that I could fill this time with showing you information about what about the huge, the mentioned huge signature database that we have integrated into THOR. We sell them separately in a rule feed subscription. You may have seen comments from our rules on VirusTotal when you've investigated some incident and noticed comments on the comments page. Some people say we spam VirusTotal with our comments. Others are happy that they see our comments. We are selling Valhalla, as I said. There we have integrated into Valhalla the rules that we are selling are 10,711 handcrafted Java rules. I've created them over the last 6.5 years. We have more rules integrated into THOR that need some external variables passed to them. Therefore, not all rules that are integrated in THOR can be sold, but most of them. And here's a listing of new rules that we publish per day. The newest rules, you can see a description. You can see the reference link to the report that we have generated them from. And you see also in the second table a listing of the most successful Java rules in the set. Here you see the rule names and their average antivirus detection rate on VirusTotal. There are differences to the real world, but you get a good indication of what rules are impressive in their detection rate and which are less impressive. You can see also here down here the latest matches with low antivirus detection rates. Here, for example, you see suspicious Office doc macro indicator generated in June 2019. So the hash, and look that up on VirusTotal and see our comments. These are our comments. When you see them on VirusTotal, you know that this is one of the rules integrated into THOR. You see the low antivirus detection rate on that Visual Basic macro extracted from an Office document. You see THOR's comments and another comment from Inquest Labs. Okay.
That's actually what really amazed me about this product when I started, researching it. Is there's so many threats out there that are not detected by VirusTotal, right? And so many of these, and that's really the value of these error rules that you guys have here, is able to find artifacts and things that other solutions aren't able to find. So it's a very comprehensive forensic scan for sure.
Yeah, we. From the beginning, we thought that as we are not removing samples or files from an end system, we're just reporting them. We are much more permissive in the form that we use a lot of these threat hunting error rules to detect unknown threats just based on certain obfuscation detection, things like that, and just report suspicious files to the end user. And an antivirus always has to say something is good or bad, and if it's bad, he has to remove it or block it. But in our case, we can report on suspicious elements and files on disk, and that's what we do. The reports require a professional. The way we will see one of the reports later, you will see that there are some suspicious elements that are really suspicious, and you need someone, at least from IT, who understands what he sees there and can evaluate the
right.
resulting reports.
I wonder if the scan is completed. Do you think if it's
yeah.
So a quick thing, what was really interesting, Florian, I heard you tell the story once. You were at a conference, and I think this has happened to you many times, where you get these kind of famous hackers out there talking about their newest hacking tool, and you're kind of sometimes the spoiler, right? Because by the time they finish they haven't even really finished their presentation, and you've already developed the Yara rule, and Thor can now detect their hacking tool. But really funny story. Anyway, now that this finished, I'll let you go ahead and talk us through what it found.
Okay. Yes. Well, THOR has automatically detected that it runs within Microsoft Defender ATP and makes some adjustments during initialization. It adjusts the output path to a certain folder here on the disk within the Windows Defender ATP threat protection folder. And then at the end of the scan, it also outputs useful hints. You can just you see, THOR has generated certain reports or text log files, and you can just copy and paste this command here to get the report. You don't have to type anything because everything is there. THOR knows where it has. THOR knows where the reports are stored, and then it generates an output for the user so that the user don't have to investigate how to use the get file command, how to or type the whole path. Just it's very comfortable. And then it runs the get file command with the auto parameter and tries to retrieve the HTML report. As I said, you can also configure in the THOR configuration section, you can configure a remote log system, a log receiver, and send all the log data to that remote system, no matter what you use. File download started. I hope that it starts. Oh, where do I see it? Is it in the other browser window? Oh, no, here. Here is it. I open up the report. I've seen that, if you remember the initial event, it was a sticky key notice, and then THOR reveals in that report that there are other alerts on that end system. Here is a scan information section, information on the modules that run, and statistics on alerts, warnings, and notices for that scan run. And you see that THOR has noticed in the program data folder WMI .ps1 file, a known, it detects it because of suspicious base 64 encoded command line indicator. And then it also finds a web shell in the inetpub www root folder. And yeah, these are the things.
And those web shells are really hard for most AV and EDR solutions to catch. Could you maybe just speak on that for 20 seconds on why that is and how this is so valuable here?
Yeah, web shells are easy it's easy to modify web shells so that they can't be detected anymore. They just have to insert new lines, spaces, or integrate a tiny web shell in a bigger legitimate script file, ASP or PHP, and then it becomes undetected. The detection rate for web shells is low, very low. We've noticed that, and therefore we put also our focus on these web shells. We always try to detect the things that are important for user to see, but an antivirus fails to detect. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. Anything else before we kind of transition to the wrap-up phase and Q&A?
Yeah, there's a final slide. A roadmap slide. I just want to give you a short outlook on what we are planning to integrate. We plan to integrate options for you to integrate your own custom signatures, because the package that you pull include only our signatures. It would be interesting for you as a user to integrate your own indicators of compromise, your own Java rules that you have in your CERT team. This is one of the features that are on our roadmap. There is a global lookback switch, which enables us to reduce the scan time significantly by reducing the scan to elements that have been changed during the last X days. This is a new feature. It will be released today or tomorrow. I think tomorrow is the release of THOR version 10.5. And we will also improve the HTML reports. They have an outdated layout and design. We plan to do it better. So I always also promised you some interesting vouchers that you can use. We give away 25 free live investigations using the voucher code Patriot on that landing page. You just have to fill out the form and you will get these 25 live investigations that you can use. You will receive a URL that leads you to this script download page. You can just click on that link and download the script. It's everything that you need. Everything is already integrated. You can run live investigations on 25 end systems with that voucher.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Florian. Great job. And we'll also have the contact information for your organization at the end of this presentation for those that want to reach out and ask about pricing. They can get in touch with your sales team.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Excellent. Okay. So with that, Matt, if you wouldn't mind just kind of wrapping us up here, we'll go ahead and close out the session.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Florian, for going through that. Just such a game changer, and gosh, it's just really cool. I want to go lab it up here after this call. But when I think about Defender ATP, Microsoft has made some investments into our APIs in the product that allow our partners like Nextron Systems to integrate with it. And so within Defender ATP, there's a partners and applications and APIs pane over on the left side of the portal. And when you go there, you'll see the screenshot that I have here. There's about 42 different applications and counting. There's more and more being added almost every month. And these span across a wide variety of categories. You can see here from managed security service providers that you can actually use as like an MDR or an MSSP to forward these events to. You can use things like Nextron Systems, THOR scanner that we just went through, even custom threat intelligence. Just so many interesting plugins here to Defender ATP to really add more value and help you get more out of this solution. And so we're really excited about that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Joe to kind of close us out. But I really appreciate everybody joining. And Florian, thanks again for presenting for us.
Thank you both so much. If anyone has questions, feel free we can hang on here for 3 minutes for Q&A. Otherwise, if you have no questions, we just want to thank you for attending. As a reminder, this webinar recording is available. Just click on the same link that you use for registration. You can take a quick screenshot there. That's available there. Please reach out to Florian's organization, Nextron there. You can see the email address up at the top, the info@nextronsystems.com. If you have any questions or pricing information on that, feel free to reach out to either myself or Matt if you have questions on Defender ATP. We'd love to answer any questions you guys have there as well. So we'll be staying on here for a few minutes looking at any of the questions that come in. Thank you again for joining, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.